Hey and welcome to my demo reel of my game SoundBox. I use Unreal Engine 5 and Audio Kinetic Wise. You can use the timestamps to jump to the most interesting parts, and you can also download my game on my webpage where you will find more information. Now I will start with a short demo before going into the technical implementation. So let's go. Okay, now we switch into the Unreal Engine 5 editor. I use C++ foremost for the communication between objects, like the grabbing functionality, the turning of the soundbox, and also the trigger interaction. However, I work for the greatest part with blueprints, so I will stick to them in this video. Let's start with the on-off platform. To activate and fade into the desired instruments, I use this ring with the corresponding RTPC value. In this case, volume. The value gets then passed to the trigger, which is written in C++. Yet this is necessary so that the trigger can pass the RTPC string to the soundbox once it overlaps. If an overlap occurs, the platform will check if it is the soundbox, and if so, it will set several information. For example, the RTPC value. Also, the platform will tell the soundbox the exact transformation. This is to align the soundbox visually with the platform and also to calculate an RTPC value for the turning sound effect on activation. Okay, the next thing is the soundbox. I created the mesh in Blender. So for the blueprints, the whole song containing all tracks is triggered right from the play event with a volume of 0 and is positioned on the soundbox itself with a defined attenuation. With each tick, the transmitted rotation sets the RTPC value for the on-off sound effect. If the soundbox is grabbed and it overlaps with the platform, several things are performed in a sequence. First, it will take care that the whole sequence is only performed once. Next, after a certain delay, the soundbox indicates that its transformation is done. Also, it will play the activation sound effect and receives the RTPC value given from the platform. Now the soundbox needs to fade in the volume based on a timeline. If the platform is not already on, it fades in, otherwise it fades out. So the timeline is set to 100 milliseconds and a specific mixer component will take care of the fade. For a fade in, it will ease from 0 to 100. Likewise, for a fade out, it will ease from 100 to 0. Okay, for the last thing, we take a look at the fader. Each fader has a variable with a corresponding instrument, the heading on top of the fader, and the fade effect, which corresponds to the RTPC value in Wwise. Similar to the on-off platform, the fader initializes several objects, such as the first-person character, the on-off platform, and it sets the text heading. In this step, the RTPC information are concatenated for Wwise. On overlap, it will set a boolean and also activates the SoundBox outline. Likewise, the opposite for the end overlap action. During the tick event, the fader is constantly checking if the SoundBox overlaps. Also, it checks if the left mouse button is pressed to interact with the fader. If yes, we can perform the fade action, but first it needs to sort the kind of effect, for example the low-pass filter. On switch LP, we set the RTPC value. But since the coordinates from the SoundBox location do not match the RTPC values, the fader is using a clamp to map the coordinate values to the RTPC range. Now the fader sets the level indicator accordingly, also with a clamp. Here A is mapped to the top indicator position and B to the bottom. Finally, it sets the location of the indicator afterwards. The same is true for fader values, where it is important to have the RTPC values the other way around. Okay, before I will go into the implementation in Wwise, I will go over the tracks I created in Ableton Live. Here we have a simple piano, a track I called Synth, even though it's just an enhanced piano right now. I also created an arpeggio group within a piano and a wavetable from Ableton. Also I have a bass track, which is right now only the low notes from the piano, and a drum group which is just the 909 chord kit. I also mastered the track a little bit with some compression, multiband dynamics, and I pulled out some frequencies. Okay, now we are in Wwise and I imported all the different tracks from Ableton into Wwise, into a separate music track, and I also created all the different RTPC values for each track. And now I will show the ranges of the RTPC values on the arpeggio group as an example. Here we have the high pass filter. I also created some effects like the pitch shift, where I made sure that the delay time corresponds to 80 BPM. I mapped several values like the wet level and the pitch shift, which pitches down. I also created a master bus where I can change the master volume, low pass values, and finally some reverb. Alright, that's it. Thank you so much for watching my demo reel. If you have any suggestions for improvements, don't hesitate to contact me. You can find my contact information on my webpage. So thank you again and have a nice day.